Hello, and welcome to Ms. PM Reads Christian Content, where we are continuing in our story, All's for the Best by T.S. Arthur. In our last video, we had a scenario where an employer was not pleased with the employee's performance and kind of reamed her out. And then realized, well, maybe there's something going on with her, and talked to her about it and apologized. And it worked out that all was for the best. All right. This is chapter 11. My Father. I have a very early recollection of my father as a cheerful man, and of our home as a place full of the heart's warmest sunshine. But the father of my childhood and the father of my more advanced years wore a very different exterior. He had grown silent, thoughtful, abstracted, but not morose. As his children sprang up around him, full of life and hope, he seemed to lose the buoyant spirits of his earlier manhood. I did not observe this at the time, for I had not learned to observe and reflect. Life was a simple state of enjoyment. Trial had not quickened my perceptions, nor suffering taught me an unselfish regard for others. The home provided by my father was elegant. Some would have called it luxurious. On our education and accomplishments, no expense was spared. I had the best teachers and, of course, the most expensive. With none others would I have been satisfied, for I had naturally come to regard myself as on a social equality with the fashionable young friends who were my companions, and who indulged the fashionable vice of depreciating everything that did not come up to a certain acknowledged standard. Yearly, I went to Saratoga or Newport with my sisters, and at a cost which I now think was amazing. Sometimes my mother went with us, but never my father. He was not able to leave his business. Business. How I came to dislike the word. It was always business when we asked him to go anywhere with us. Business hurried him away from his hastily eaten meals. Business absorbed all his thoughts and robbed us of our father. I wish father would give up business, I said to my mother one day, and take some comfort of his life. Mr. Woodward has retired and is now living on his income. My mother looked at me strangely and sighed, but answered nothing. About this time, my father showed some inclination to repress our growing disposition to spend money extravagantly in dress. Nothing but $100 shawl would suit my ideas. Ada White had been presented by her father with a $100 cashmere, and I did not mean to be put off with anything less. Father, I want $100, I said to him one morning as he was leaving the house after eating his light breakfast. He had grown dyspeptic and had to be careful and sparing in his diet. $100? He looked surprised. In fact, I noticed that when my request made him start. What do you want with so much money? I have nothing seasonable to wear, I said very firmly, and as I must have a shawl, I might as well get a good one while I am about it. I saw one at Stewart's yesterday that is just the thing. Ada White's father gave her a shawl exactly like it, and you must let me have the money to buy this one. It will last my lifetime. $100 is a large price to pay for a shawl, said my father in his sober way. Oh dear, no, was my emphatic answer. $100 is a low price for a shawl. Jane Wharton's cost $500. I'll think about it, said my father, turning from me rather abruptly. When he came home at dinner time, I was alone in the parlor, practicing a new piece of music which my fashionable teacher had left me. He was paid $3 for every lesson. My father smiled as he laid a $100 bill on the keys of the piano. I started up and kissed him, said with the ardor of a pleased girl, "What a dear, good father you are." The return was ample. He always seemed most pleased when he could gratify some wish or supply some want of his children. Ah, if we had been less selfish, less exacting. It was hardly to be expected that my sisters would see me the possessor of $100 shawl and not desire a like addition to their wardrobes. "I want $100, said my sister Jane on the next morning as my father was about leaving for his store. "Can't spare it today, my child," I heard him say kindly, but firmly. "Oh, but I must have it," urged my sister. "I gave you $25 only day before yesterday." My father replied to this. "What have you done with that?" "Spent it for gloves and laces," said Jane in a light way, as if the sum were of the smallest possible consequence. "I am not made of money, child." The tone of my father's voice struck me as unusually sober, almost sad. But Jane replied instantly and with something of reproach and complaint in her tones. "I shouldn't think you were, if you find it so hard to part with $100. Oh boy. "I have a large payment to make today." My father spoke with unusual decision of manner, "and shall need every dollar that I can raise." "You gave sister $100 yesterday," said Jane almost petulantly. Not a word of reply did my father make. I was looking at him and saw an expression on his countenance that was new to me, an expression of pain mingled with fear. He turned away slowly and in silence left the house. "Jane," said my mother, addressing her from the stairway on which she had been standing, "how could you speak to your father so?" "I have just as good a right to $100 shawl as Anna," replied my sister in a very undutiful tone. "And what is more, I'm going to have one." "What reason did your father give for refusing your request today?" asked my mother. "Couldn't spare the money. Had a large payment to make. Only an excuse." "Wow." "Stop, my child," was the quick, firm remark made with unusual feeling. "Is that the way to speak of so good a father, of one who has been ever so kindly indulgent? Jane, Jane, you know not what you are saying." My sister looked something abashed at this unexpected rebuke, when my mother took occasion to add with an earnestness of manner that I could not help remarking as singular. "Your father is troubled about something. Business may not be going on to his satisfaction. Last night I awoke and found him walking the floor. To my questions, he merely answered that he was wakeful. His health is not so good as formerly, and his spirits are low. Don't, let me pray you, do anything to worry him. Say no more about this money, Jane. You will get it whenever it can be spared." I did not see my father again until tea time. Occasionally, business engagements pressed upon him so closely that he did not come home at the usual hour for dining. He looked pale, weary, almost haggard. "Dear father, are you sick?" said I, laying a hand upon him and gazing earnestly into his countenance. "I do not feel very well," he replied, partly averting his face, as if he did not wish me to read its expression too closely. "I've had a weary day." "You must take more recreation," said I. "This excessive devotion to business is destroying your health." "Why will you do it, father?" He merely sighed as he passed onwards and ascended to his own room. At tea time, I observed that his face was unusually sober. His silence was nothing uncommon, and so that passed without remark from anyone. On the next day, Jane received the $100, which was spent for a shawl like mine. This brought the sunshine back to her face. Her moody looks, I saw, disturbed my father. From this time, the hand which had ever been ready to supply all our wants, real or imaginary, opened less promptly at our demands. My father talked occasionally of retrenchment and economy when some of our extravagant bills came in, and we paid little heed to his remarks on this head. Where could we retrench? In what could we economize? Very idea was absurd. We had nothing that others moved in our circles did not have. Our house and furniture would hardly compare favorably with the houses and furniture of many of our fashionable friends. We dressed no better, indeed, not so well as dozens of our acquaintances. Retrenchment and economy? I remember laughing with my sisters at the words and wondering with them what could be coming over our father. In a half-amused way, we enumerated the various items of imaginary reform. There we go. Beginning at the annual summer recreations and ending with our milliners' bills. In mock seriousness, we proposed to take the places of cook, chambermaid, and waiter, and thus save these items of expense in the family. We had quite a merry time over our fancied reforms, but our father was serious. Steadily, he persisted in what seemed to us a growing penuriousness. I don't know what that even is. penuriousness. Every demand for money seemed to give him a partial shock, and every dollar that came to us was parted with reluctantly. All this was something new, but we thought less than we felt about it. Our father seemed to be getting into a very singular state of mind. Summer came around. I shall never forget that summer, and we commenced making our annual preparations for Saratoga. Money was, of course, an indispensable prerequisite. I asked for $50. For what purpose? Inquired my father. I haven't a single dress fit to appear in away from home. Where are you going? I thought the question a strange one. Okay, this is going to be oh no, we're almost done. Okay, I got a soft spot coming. I thought the question a strange one and replied a little curtly. To Saratoga, of course. Oh, it seemed new to him. Then he repeated my words in a questioning kind of way, as if his mind were not altogether satisfied on the subject. To Saratoga? Yes, sir, to Saratoga. We always go there. We shall close the season at Newport this year. Who else is going? My father's manner was strange. I had never seen him just in the mood he then appeared to be. Jane is going, of course, and so is Emily. And we are trying to persuade mother also. She didn't go last year. Won't you spend a week or two with us? Now do say yes. My father shook his head at this last proposal and said, no, child, very decidedly. Why? I asked. Because I have something of importance to think about. More important than Saratoga and its fashionable follies. Business, business, said I impatiently. It is the Moloch, father, to which you sacrifice every social pleasure, every home delight, every good. Already you have laid health and happiness upon the bloody altars of this false god. A few quick flushes went over his pale face, and then its expression became very sad. Anna, he said, after a brief silence, during which even my unpracticed eyes could see that an intense struggle was going on in his mind. Anna, oh, you will have to give up your visit to Saratoga this year. Why, father? It seemed as if my blood were instantly on fire. My face was, of course, all in a glow. I was confounded, and let me confess it, indignant. It seemed like a tyrannical outrage. It is simply as I say, my daughter, he spoke without visible excitement. Cannot afford the expense this season, and you will, therefore, all have to remain in the city. And that's where we're going to stop. Oh boy, is she unhappy. And he's unhappy. Goodness. Well, that's just the first section of that chapter. So we'll have to come back and see how that one ends. All right, you guys. I hope you have a blessed day. Remember, if you're enjoying the story, you want to go ahead and subscribe to the channel, hit that bell tone and bell tab, and then you'll get a notification every time a new video posts. We're almost done with this one, and then we're going on to an Alistair Begg book. Yay. All right, you guys. Have a blessed day.